Welcome into the first Sunday edition of Pigskin with Pancakes. I'm the host, Paige DeMacos, here with Chris Schubert and Jamie Eisner. Guys, how are we doing? First Sunday of NFL kickoff. How are you guys feeling this morning?
You can feel it in the air, right? NFL is back. We did this on Thursday, and I feel like we need to, at least I do, my two predictions from Thursday did not go very well, so I'm very excited to be able to come back and maybe make some better ones.
You got to own up to
I got to own up to my mistakes. I said Dwayne Allen was going to have a good game, and Kareem Hunt wasn't, so 0 for 2 on that, so I'm excited to maybe make some better ones today.
How did you do, Jamie?
Hit or miss. I gave the Chiefs a little bit more credit. I didn't have the guts to pick them to win, but I know that a theme of this show will be Chris getting things wrong all the time. And to your first question, I'm doing a lot better than our friends in New England right now.
Ooh, if you're a New England fan, you're probably not feeling too well, but let's just say it's NFL Week 1. We saw what happened to the Chiefs and the Patriots a couple years ago. The Patriots people were talking about them being done. We all know that was a fallacy. So, Chris, let's go to matchup number 1.
Okay.
This is one that I would put in the toilet bowl category.
We're getting it out of the way.
Okay, Jets and the Bills.
Sure.
How are you feeling about this game?
This game, to me, screams do not watch. I don't know what you're going to gain from this game by watching it. The Jets, bad. The Bills are bad. And I think the big question that you're going to watch for from the Jets' perspective this entire season is whether or not this entire plan of tanking, because they're doing it and they're being somewhat open about it, which we really don't see in the NFL very often, will it pay off? Will it land them that premier franchise quarterback? Because that's what you need, and they don't have that yet. So they're trying to strive for that. So each one of these games, you're asking yourself the question is, are they getting closer to getting that franchise quarterback? If the answer is yes, then this season is going how they want it to.
Jamie, when you look at them and what Chris said, they look like they're tanking. We know that they're tanking. Do you think this is going to pay off? Because we've seen in the NBA it doesn't pay off all the time. Now, it's a flip of a coin. You might get the guy of the future and you might not. Is this going to pay off for them?
I'm not sure it will, but if the plan is for them to suck this year, they're going to do a hell of a job, and it's going to start today against another very bad football team in the Buffalo Bills. But you don't know. The difference between the NFL and the NBA or NHL is you don't have a draft lottery. You have the worst record, you get the number 1 pick. The only case that would not be is if you're tied, then it goes to a coin flip. But you got to draft right, you got to develop right, and they need a quarterback. Because I'm certain of one thing, Christian Hackenberg is not the answer.
Yeah, Christian Hackenberg is not the guy of the future. I can pretty much tell you that with 100% certainty as an NFL fan. But we'll go to the Bills.
Sure.
Are they trying, they trade away Sammy Watkins. Are they trying to get rid of Tyrod? Because that's kind of what it looks like.
I am going to put my conspiracy theory tinfoil hat on for a moment. I said this the moment that they traded Sammy Watkins. They are actively trying to ruin Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
They have to determine whether or not they want to give him a contract at the end of the season. And if you take away all of a quarterback's good weapons and he doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to, his numbers are bad. He's not worth as much. So this goes to your bold prediction on the Thursday show about Nate Peterman being the best quarterback from this class, or the class that we're talking about the most. This Bills team are trying to ruin Tyrod Taylor. They trade away your number 1 target. What team trying to strive for the postseason does that? You don't. They are trying to hit the reset button, but they don't want to be as open about it as the New York Jets.
Yeah, they trade away a guy like Sammy Watkins, who was his number 1 overall guy that he had on his team. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you're trying to win now. So you would assume that they're not trying to win now, and they, maybe conspiracies aside, are trying to get rid of Tyrod Taylor.
Well, I think they're not trying to ruin Tyrod Taylor. There's literally no incentive for an NFL team to ruin their, I won't even want to call him a franchise quarterback, but at least their starting quarterback. But I think what they know is that Tyrod Taylor is not the answer, and they're not going to make an effort to trying to build a winning team around Tyrod, which does go back to my bold prediction. Now, I didn't say Nate Peterman was the best quarterback in the class. He's just the quarterback we're going to be talking about coming out of this season. He's going to get a lot of work. I think he's going to have some success early on in low-pressure situations. But to me, this is simple. They don't think they can win with Tyrod Taylor, and they're not going to have Tyrod Taylor on their team next season.
All right, let's get into our score predictions. Chris, I will let you go first. How does Jets and Bills shake out?
Do I have to pick this game?
Yeah, you have to. It's
Okay.
100%. I'm not letting you get out of it.
I will take the Bills. They're probably the better football team here. These are two very bad teams. I don't see how either of these teams score points today. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons, specifically on the Jets side of things. I mean, if they score more than 14 points in a game, they should throw a party. I like the Bills 17-10.
Okay. Jamie, when you look at this game, how do you see this one shaking out?
I will watch exactly 0 seconds of this football game. This will be 17-9 Buffalo. Please, please, please spend your time doing literally anything else but watching this football game today. Any other game, donate for the hurricane relief, watch anything but this, please. Just save yourself.
Yeah, we will always have a opportunity for the Toilet Bowl of the Week, and I'm thinking that game is one of the premier matchups for the Toilet Bowl of the Week. Now, Let's move on to the next game, and that is a divisional game, the Eagles and the Redskins. This game is always good. This division is always very good. It's always a lot of fun to watch. Carson Wentz going into year 2. Chris, is he going to do enough to be the guy this year?
Rarely on this show are you going to see Jamie and I be in lockstep on something, but there is one thing that we're going to be in lockstep on is we're not Carson Wentz believers. We're not Carson Wentz guys. I did not see enough from him outside of the first, 3 or 4 weeks of the season to believe that Carson Wentz is the answer in Philadelphia. And I know we mentioned this on the Thursday show. I'm a prove it guy. You got to prove it to me. And until I see it from Carson Wentz from a full 16-game slate, I'm not ready to call him the answer in Philadelphia. I know they traded up to get him. They gave up a lot. They're not just going to give up on him. But he needs to prove it. What a chance to do it the first game of the season against a very good corner in Josh Norman who's going to cause a lot of havoc for him. If he's able to break through and lead the Eagles to victory, okay, now we start to see something. But I need to see it from him before I'm willing to stamp my seal of approval on Carson Wentz.
Jamie, I've heard yourself talk about yourself as a Carson Wentz truther. So I'll give you the opportunity to be a Carson Wentz truther. What do you think about Carson Wentz this year?
I'm just not convinced that he is this elite prospect in waiting that's just waiting to burst and break out. I need to see more. I need to see him mature as a decision maker. I need him to see him mature as a thrower. And if he does those things over the course of his sophomore season, I will look back and say, okay, I saw the progression I need to. I by no means have given up on Carson Wentz, but I'm not buying into this hype that he's the bona fide franchise quarterback in Philadelphia, and he's going to lead them to their first Super Bowl championship. I need to see a hell of a lot more before I get to that.
Now let's look at the other side of the ball, and that's the Washington Redskins. They have a lot of new pieces in Washington this year, and a big thing for them is you're worrying about, is Kirk Cousins going to be able to be the guy again this year with some new additions, new wide receivers, new pieces? How long, Chris, do you think it's going to take for this offense to really gel? Because last year they put up some serious numbers.
Yeah, and it starts and ends with Kirk Cousins, right? He's the guy that's going to lead them anywhere this season, and for his sake, it needs to be quick. He's trying to get that big payday. He is trying to bring in the huge financial security of a big contract. And the Washington Redskins are not ready to give it to him. They want to see more from him. They want him to prove it to them. So for his sake, it needs to be quick. And for the Redskins' sake, in a tough division with the Giants, who I think are going to give every team a lot of trouble, the Cowboys are never an easy matchup, it needs to be quick. And I know they lost to Sean Jackson. That's a huge threat. But Terrell Pryor's a nice young piece for them. Of course, when you're bringing in a new receiver with a quarterback, it takes some time. But for the Redskins' sake, it needs to be early, and you're hoping it's as early as today.
Yeah, Jamie, do you think they gel earlier rather than later?
I do think they do. I'm not quite as worried about Sean McVay not being there anymore. I'm not quite as worried about Deshaun Jackson not being there anymore. The narrative of Deshaun Jackson being that ultimate deep threat receiver hasn't really paid out. I think our own Ryan Wooden last year did an article for FanRag Sports talking about how Deshaun Jackson doesn't really open up the underneath routes for his receivers. That's not something that actually pans out. That's more of a media narrative. He does have enough pieces around him. If Jordan Reed stays healthy, those two have a great connection. I'm not sure how long he's going to stay healthy. He kind of got the Gronk syndrome there as well. Mm-hmm. But I do think their offense isn't going to miss a step. The question is going to be, can their defense keep them in enough games to compete for a playoff spot and compete for a winning record in a division where, quite frankly, there are two teams that are better than them?
Okay, let's put you on the spot. Chris,
yes.
Score predictions for today's game.
Like the Redskins, I know everyone's going to talk about the passing game. Everyone's going to talk about Kirk Cousins and all these weapons. The running game, to me, is a really important factor today. Rob Kelly, Samaje Perine, what do we see from him in week one? I like the Redskins in this one. Carson Wentz throws 2 interceptions. I'll go 28-14 Redskins.
Ooh, very specific with the 2 interceptions.
Yes.
I love that. Jamie, score prediction.
27-17 Washington. I think Kirk Cousins has no trouble with the offense. I think Carson Wentz actually gets an early touchdown. Everybody starts to freak out, and then he comes right back down to earth. Kind of a metaphor for what his season was last year as a rookie.
Wait, Philadelphia fans freaking out?
No,
that never
would
happens.
never
Philly
happen.
fans never freak out.
Mild-tempered folks, they are.
All right, let's get into the first premier matchup of the week. We're talking Raiders and Titans. Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota. These are 2 quarterbacks that there is a lot of hype around. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. There's a lot of hype around the Oakland Raiders as a whole, and there's a lot of hype around Marcus Mariota. Chris, when you look at this team, is Marcus Mariota going to be what everybody is projecting him to be this year?
He's going to have to be for them to get anywhere this season, and I think he will be. I think the addition of Corey Davis in the first round of the draft, a huge boost for him. They signed Eric Decker. That's a big deal as well. He needs options. Delaney Walker's not getting any younger, and I know that was his safety blanket, quote unquote, last season, but he needs more weapons in that offense. Corey Davis and Eric Decker provide that. They have a very good running game that's going to take some of the burden off of him. I love Derrick Henry. I think by season's end, Derrick Henry's the starter there in Tennessee, and that's going to be a huge boost to them. The real question with this Tennessee team is, yes, Marcus Mariota, does he take that next step? Does he get into that elite category? It's the defense. Can they stop anybody? Can they keep other teams off the board? They need a shutdown corner. They're still looking for that. If they can solve that part of the puzzle, they have a quarterback. I think they'll do a very good job of keeping other teams off the field offensively and with their offense. And if they're able to strike that balance, they'll have a chance.
Yeah, Tennessee really wants to prove that they have that home field advantage, that they're a really, really elite team this year. Jamie, are they this year's Raiders team that has everything kind of go their way?
Yes, because I don't like the division that they're in. And playing in a poor division gives you the ability to rack up 4 or 5, maybe even 6 wins without having to go outside of your division and face elite teams. I don't see another team that's going to compete with them. I'm not as high on the Texans as Chris is. But for me, the big reason I talked about Mariota as being an overrated fantasy option is particularly that running game. They have 2 dynamic options. Mike Mularkey wants to run the football. I think they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage against Oakland, and I think they're going to be able to run Oakland down. This is a matchup of everybody is saying about Tennessee this year what everybody said about Oakland last year. Now, we don't know what Oakland last year would have been with a healthy Derek Carr in the postseason.
Yeah.
But I think the Titans are going to be a very good team, and this is one of those games where it's like wherever you're playing this game is the team I'm going to lead toward.
Jamie, you and I are both in agreement that this team, when you look at their schedule, is a 12-win team, but we don't think they're actually a 12-win team. The schedule is kind of conducive to them maybe to win 2 more games than they're supposed to from Tennessee's perspective. So I think we should keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, we want to talk about Oakland, though, because there is a lot of hype around Oakland this year.
Raiders.
What do they need to do to take that next step and be not the team they were last year, but a team that we all know can compete with the elite status of this conference, and that is the New England Patriots?
Figure out who's playing in their secondary every week, I think, is a big one. Derek Carr, we know what you're going to get from him. He's taking that next step. He's getting closer and closer. I think when you look at Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, and Derek Carr is probably the closest to that elite level. I think when I look at all 3, I'm a huge Jameis guy. I lean Jameis over Marcus Mariota, but I love Derek Carr. They have a running game with Marshawn Lynch. Jamie will go on and on about how good Michael Crabtree is and Amari Cooper. They have everything on an offensive side perspective. Defensively, they have Khalil Mack. And other than that, I have a lot of question marks. So defensively, what I need to see from them this year is figuring out who's going to be that shutdown corner, that elite level guy that's going to be able to take away the best receiver of any team. Because when it comes to the postseason, you're going to face the Antonio Browns of the world. You're going to face the Rob Gronkowskis if he's healthy in the postseason. You got to have somebody that can take those guys away. I just don't see it on this Raider team right now.
Jamie, I know you're a big fan of the Raiders' wide receiving core, but what Chris just mentioned, he talked about the defense. I want you to talk about Marshawn Lynch and whether or not Marshawn Lynch, because we know what happens to running backs when they get post 30. And this is a guy who took a whole year off of football. Is he going to be enough in their backfield?
I don't think so. I don't get all the Marshawn Lynch hype. I think we forgot what Marshawn Lynch looked like at the very end of his Seahawks tenure. He also, again, he has a lot of tough yards on him. Going back to Buffalo and Seattle, he runs the ball hard. And yes, he's a bigger guy. He has a bigger frame. He's able to sustain some of those tough hits and those hits in the hole. But I'm not certain that he's going to be the savior of that running game. But Latavius Murray was not anything special for them last year either. They don't need Lynch to be much. To me, I'm with Chris. It's all about that defense. It's about the middle linebackers, and it's about that secondary. Can they keep teams off the board? I trust the Raiders to throw all over any secondary in the league. Just the other parts I don't trust.
All right, score prediction time. Chris, you first.
I don't like doing these score predictions because even if I get the game right, I get the scoring, I feel bad. But I think there's a lot of offense in this game. I think these are 2 teams that need to still feel themselves out defensively, need to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I like the Titans in this one. I'm going to give it to the home team. You're going to hear me say this a lot on the show. A West Coast team coming east to play the early games a nightmare. Those are the games you look out for if you're looking for an upset. I like the Titans 38-24.
Jamie?
Titans 24-20, and I don't want to be that guy, Chris, but the Titans are favored, so it wouldn't be an upset.
Wow, thanks, Jamie.
All right, well, let's move on to Jaguars and Texans. This is a big game for Houston. We all know what happened in Houston. Complete devastation for that city. J.J. Watt has now raised over $30 million for that city. Totally incredible. Can't say enough what he has done for that city. This feels very similar to what happened in New Orleans, where they come back. The football team is what is bringing the city together in a positive way. So that's the outside of football stuff. Chris, let's talk more specifically about this Houston Texas defense. What do you think about this defense this year?
I love this defense. I'm willing to go as far to call it one of the elite defenses in the NFL. I know Jamie's going to start rolling his eyes at me when I say this, but you have J.J. Watt. I know they lost A.J. Boye in the secondary. They're going to need to figure out who they're going to pick to replace him. But I think that with Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt, you're not going to have time to throw the ball as a quarterback. I mean, they're going to be after you from the get-go. The questions are all on the offensive side of things. You don't have Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tom Savage. How does that work out? Lamar Miller, does he give you enough balance in the running game? So if you're looking at this Houston team on paper, and I look at the AFC, and I don't see outside of the division winners a whole lot of teams that are going to be competing for a wild card spot. So defense wins championships. Houston's got a pretty good one. I think they sneak in as a wild card team.
Jamie, do you think that Houston is ready to take that next step and be not only a playoff team, but a playoff team that can compete in the AFC?
Need to see a quarterback. And I've not been convinced that Deshaun Watson's going to be the guy this year. I don't think Tom Savage is going to be the guy any year. He's going to be good enough to kind of, again, ride that defense to maybe 7, 8, maybe 9 wins. But, again, I like that defense. I don't think it's one of the 3 best in the league. But to me, this game is all about I want to see J.J. Watt. He's the last introduction coming out of the tunnel. That's going to be amazing. Whatever they do today is going to be just, again, the fact they can play football today, what J.J. Watt has done for that community is unprecedented for what most athletes are able to do. It's been incredible to see. But just, I'm not that high on either of these teams. There are 2 teams that some people are trendy on. I don't see it. I really don't.
Yeah, when you look at Jacksonville, the biggest question surrounding this team is Blake Bortles and what has happened in the offseason. Is Blake Bortles a Jacksonville Jaguar next year, Chris?
I don't know if Blake Bortles is a Jacksonville Jaguar by the end of this season. I really don't. I look at Jacksonville, and Blake Bortles is the king of garbage time. And I know we hate to use that term when it comes to Blake Bortles, but he doesn't do anything in the first 3 quarters. They have to be down 21 points for the light to go off and for him to be able to do something because the defense lays off the gas pedal and he's got an opportunity. When you are trying to trade one of your better receivers, that doesn't tell me you're a team that's trying to win. And I just look at Blake Bortles, who they benched, and then they saw what Chad Henne was, and they're like, oh, gosh, we got to go back to Blake Bortles. So they're going to go with Blake Bortles here. I just don't know how they get up on a team enough to ride that defense, which is good. And that's so disappointing because there are a lot of players on that defense I like. I will scream and rant and rave about Jalen Ramsey. I love him. They have Calais Campbell that they just added, Malik Jackson. There's a ton of talent defensively on this team. They're just going to be on the field a lot, and they're going to give up points because Blake Bortles is good for at least 2 pick sixes a game.
What I've been calling Jacksonville all year is the team of misfit toys. They do have a lot of pieces, but it doesn't all fit together. So, Jamie, when you look at this defense, I know Chris likes the pieces, but that doesn't mean collectively they're going to be very good.
I'm team show me. Show me at first. Everyone tells me how great Jacksonville's defense is going to be. I need to see it. I heard how great Jacksonville's going to be the last 2 years, and they're the same old Jags all the time. I do like Calais Campbell. I love Jalen Ramsey. I love a lot of the pieces they have there. How do they work collectively? How do they work when they're on the field constantly? How do they work when the king of the backdoor cover is giving up points in the first 3 quarters because he's throwing it to the other team? I don't know that yet. I need to see Jacksonville sustain success on defense over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks before I'm just going to crown them one of the 10 best units in football.
Yeah, this team has a lot of struggles, and when you look at the quarterback position, it's a disaster when you think about what they drafted him to be. Chris, give me your score prediction for today.
I like a lot of points. 31-17 Houston.
Jamie?
27-17 Houston.
All right. Well, we're moving on to the local team. We are in Phoenix, Arizona. The Cardinals are playing the Lions. They start off on the road this week. Cardinals versus Lions. Now, last year, there was a lot of hype surrounding the Arizona Cardinals. They did not live up to any of that hype. This year, most people are not picking this team to do very good in that 7-9, 8-8 range. I do like them a lot more than that. Chris, how much do you like the Arizona Cardinals this year, and can they be better than they were last year?
I like them more than the national narrative of they're going to be the same team they were last year at 7-9 or 8-8. But I think what you're seeing is everybody went all in on them last year and they got burned. So they're not going to do that again. And they're just going to be a little bit glass half empty and hope that the Cardinals are better than that. The Cardinals are 100% all in. You got Carson Palmer, who's 37 years old. We go week to week wondering if this is Larry Fitzgerald's last season. We've been doing that for the last 3 years. Bruce Arians is getting older as a coach. You just look at this and you could see a team that next year doesn't have a starting quarterback, doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver, doesn't have a head coach. I mean, when you look, you have to be all in if that's the case. They have the best running back in football in David Johnson. They have a defense that has a lot of shiny pieces in there, and hopefully they all kind of click at some point this season. But they have to be all in because you need a quarterback to win in this league, and they don't know if they're going to have one beyond this season.
Jamie, are you like Chris? Do you think that the Cardinals are all in 2017?
Absolutely. They did the all or nothing show with the Cardinals last year. It should be this year. This is the last year with Carson Palmer. This is the last year with Larry Fitzgerald. And both those together might be the last year with Bruce Arians. If they are going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, it's going to be this year. And I agree with Chris that we use this for fantasy a lot, but the Cardinals are a post-hype sleeper. Everybody thought they were going to be a Super Bowl contender last year. They disappointed despite all the peripheral stats looking good. And now everyone's like, yeah, they're an afterthought, they're done. I think they're a 10-win football team, to be honest with you.
I'm completely in agreement with that. I definitely think that they're a playoff team. But let's talk about the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford. He gets a big contract. Do you think that's going to pay off for the Detroit Lions?
It is and it isn't. And I know that's sort of a wishy-washy answer, but you have to pay quarterbacks in this league that do everything that you need them to do. And Matt Stafford, I know he's not won a playoff game. I know he struggles against teams that have winning records. But I ask this question, honestly, are they going to get anybody than Matt Stafford in free agency or in the draft? I just don't think you can answer that question yes right now. Yeah, they could probably get a shiny toy in the draft, a Sam Darnold or somebody like that, and in 3 years down the road, that guy can be good. But the Lions with Matt Stafford, they're trying to win right now. They can't hit the reset button. The contract will work out. They need pieces around him. I just don't know who he's going to throw the ball to on a consistent basis. They need a running game. I can't tell you the last time they had a running game.
Yeah.
I can't. And defensively, they got to get off the field. And I look at this team. I know they made the playoffs last year. They lost to Seattle. I just don't like them. I have them third in the NFC North.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them in this division when you play in the division with Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings, who have an elite defense. It's going to be tough for you. But when you look at this contract, do you think it pays off long term? Not necessarily this year specifically, but long term for the Detroit Lions.
It won't, but the problem is what other choice do they have? No, Matthew Stafford can't win a playoff game or beat any teams that are good, but he's the best they got. We just talked about what the Cardinals are going to do next year. What is their answer next year? Blaine Gabbert? Who's out there? So if Detroit doesn't sign Matthew Stafford, who are they going with? And in these games, you have two franchises that went long stretches without any semblance of a good quarterback. I can't blame the Lions for saying, we can't not lock him up. But no, he will not be worth the money he is making.
All right, let's look at some score predictions here. Chris, who do you have winning this game?
I like the Cardinals. I think offensively they're going to come out and really show something this week with David Johnson and Carson Palmer. I will pick them to win 42-30.
Okay, Jamie?
At the Lions, 31-28. Let's go back to Chris's theme from before. West Coast team going to the Eastern time zone. It's not been kind to the Cardinals in the past.
No, was definitely not kind to them last year, but they're hoping that they have a little bit of that magic from 2 seasons ago where they were 7-1 when they went there. Now, let's move on to the next game. We're talking about the Steelers and the Browns. My favorite team in the AFC this year, the Steelers. I think they have an unbelievable amount of offensive power. So let's start there with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. You have Le'Veon Bell. You have Antonio Brown. You have Martavis Bryant. You have a lot to like there. What do you like about the offense?
I just love that they have the best trio in all of football. They have the quarterback, running back, wide receiver combo that you need. If I can be pessimistic for a moment, I have a major concern with this offense, and he's Le'Veon Bell. I don't know what he was doing. Yes, you can work out and you can do everything in your power to keep yourself in football shape when you are at home. You cannot replicate what a practice is like. You cannot replicate what a game is like. I think Le'Veon Bell struggles out of the gate. We know he always gets hurt. He's never played in a full season. This screams a hamstring or a calf or something coming up that keeps him out for a couple of weeks because he wasn't at training camp, because he was holding out for no reason. There was no chance after that deadline he was getting a new deal. It seemed that he only hurt himself by doing so, and I think he's going to hurt the Steelers here in the first couple of weeks.
All right, Jamie, I'll ask you that. Did Le'Veon Bell hurt himself by holding out?
He's fine. I want you to see at the very bottom of your screen, it says at Chris R. Schubert. When Le'Veon Bell gets 25 touches today for 130 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns, I want you to just tweet at him and remind him that Le'Veon Bell is hurting the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have no concerns about the offense. I have no concerns about Le'Veon Bell. I love the options. Now, my concern is Ben Roethlisberger turns into a pumpkin when he goes on the road. Now, he's lucky he's playing the Browns, so it's not going to matter. But that's going to be the concern because the Steelers, I think, are going to have to go on the road in the postseason at least once if they're going to get to the Super Bowl. And Roethlisberger is not the same football player when he's away from Heinz Field.
No, he absolutely is not. And he's actually struggled mightily in Cleveland, which is not a place that you traditionally struggle. Now, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. Can we give Cleveland something to be happy about.
The Indians.
They're on a 17-game winning streak.
Happy about the Indians.
We could. His name was Myles Garrett, but he's not playing because he's hurt. So I look at this team, and I think you give a lot of attention to Myles Garrett because he's, of course, the number 1 overall pick. But Jabril Peppers, David Njoku are 2 really big-time players there in the first round for them. And this season is going to live or die on what they see from DeShone Kizer. He needs to prove to them that he's a franchise quarterback. And I like this decision to go with him over Brock Osweiler because the Browns cannot afford to miss out on a franchise quarterback again. The last couple of years in the draft, they've missed on that guy. They've traded their pick or they decided to go in a different direction. Now, this past year, I thought it was warranted. None of the quarterbacks seemed to be number 1 worthy. This year, you can make a case for 4 or 5 of them. So I think they really need to see, is this lottery ticket into DeShone Kizer enough to not take a quarterback next season? Or is DeShone Kizer not good? We gave him 16 games to show it. He didn't. Now let's hit the reset button and get another quarterback.
Jamie, does DeShone Kizer have enough around him? Because we know how this happens. Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston got gifted into very good situations. And that's what happens when you're a rookie quarterback. You need that. Does DeShone Kizer have enough to even get a fair evaluation of him?
I'm not sure he does, but so what I'm looking from Kizer is I just want to see tangible week-to-week progress. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make a lot of mistakes, but that's okay. The Browns aren't winning anything this year. I need to see week-to-week. Does he make tangible progress? Does he make the same mistake 2-3 weeks in a row? Does he turn the ball over when he should take a sack? Does he throw the ball away when he needs to throw the ball away? Those are all things I want to see. I want to see him be fundamentally sound, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the future. It's like evaluating a prospect right now. That's what I want to see from him. You won't see it from Garrett today, but you'll see it in future weeks. You'll see it from Peppers. I want to see those players get better as the season goes on, and if they do, that's a successful season if I'm a Browns fan.
All right, let's look at some score predictions here. Chris, you're up first.
27-13 Steelers.
All right, Jamie?
28-10 Steelers.
All right, well, let's move on to the Falcons and the Bears. Let's try not to hurt my feelings too much because I did grow up in Chicago and this team is terrible. We're talking about the Super Bowl hangover. It is real, people. The Atlanta Falcons are a team that could have the worst Super Bowl hangover of all time because last year was a disaster. I'm not putting it lightly. It was a disaster what happened for them. Are they going to have a case of Super Bowl hangover?
I don't like this. I'm not a narrative guy. I don't love just buying into the hype. Oh, this team's going to be down. This team's going to have a Super Bowl hangover. Yes. Is there an effect of blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl? 100%. Absolutely. They start their season against the Chicago Bears. They could score 50 points today. I mean, and you know what's the best thing for a team that struggled is if you can score a lot of points and be successful. I'm sorry, Paige, but I look at this Bears team. The Falcons could score 50 points today. And you know what? The next day on Monday, we won't be talking about a Super Bowl hangover.
Absolutely. Jamie, do you think they're going to have a case of Super Bowl hangover?
I do not, because you know what? See, Chris, you're a big partier, right? So when you're done,
not really, but okay.
When you're done with your night of drinking and you go to the local Circle K, and they have those all those little displays.
Not sponsored, by the way.
And one of them just says, you're like, hangover cure. That's what the Chicago Bears are for the Atlanta Falcons. If they're feeling bad about themselves, they just walk into Chicago, put up 40-plus points, and say, thank you, we're going home. Oh, yeah, by the way, congratulations on your team trading up to number 2 for a player they could have taken at 6.
This is a nightmare for me.
He's already taking
shots at me. It's week 1, but I have to be fair. I take shots at myself because I hate the Bears. They make me very sad. Now, we'll move on to the one new shiny toy that Chicago has, and that is Mitchie Trubisky.
Oh, Trubisky time.
Mitchie.
When is it going to be?
Mitchie,
Mitchie.
I'm
not calling you Mitchell, bud. All right, you got to earn that one. Do you think that he is going to be the starter at some point this season?
Yes, I think you have to do that because, again, do you believe in Mike Glennon enough for him to be the answer? I don't think he's the answer, but they need to evaluate that. Then it's going to come to a point where they have Mitchell Trubisky. They need to see if he is the answer because, again, the same thing with the Browns. There are a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. If Trubisky, now, again, you're not going to give up on him after one season, but you could maybe nab another quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round.
That's a disaster. If the Bears take a quarterback in the next draft before the 5th round, that's a disaster.
Okay, I will. Thank you for interrupting me. I will get back to my main point here.
I love it.
If you evaluate him and you are a little bit concerned about him, yes, you don't go and take a quarterback in the 1st round. But if one of these other guys that no one's talking about, let's say a Baker Mayfield or a Jake Browning or one of these other guys that's slipping below the radar, is there on day 2 or day 3, I don't see why you wouldn't at least think about it. But again, they need to get him in there to evaluate him because they're not going to be able to answer that question about if he's the answer until he plays in a football game.
I'll second what Jamie said. If the Bears go out and draft a quarterback next year, that is a disaster because you sign Mike Glennon in the offseason, you give him the keys to the Chicago Bears offense, and then you go out and spend more picks than you needed to get Mitch Trubisky. So if they trade him away, I'm with you, Jamie. There is no way that they can do that.
That's a nightmare. And again, I don't know if Trubisky's going to be the answer. I don't think he is. I wasn't quite as high on him as everybody else was. But to me, I look at this. If you're drafting a quarterback next year with the intention of him competing for a starting job, you might as well find a new GM too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, you made your bed. You decided that you were going to go up and trade for Mitch Trubisky after signing Glennon. You made your bed. If this doesn't work, the next GM is going to make the decision on the next starting quarterback in Chicago.
All right, let's get into these score predictions, and I have a feeling they're going to be very ugly. So, Chris, you're up first.
48-6 Falcons.
Wow.
42-10 Falcons.
Okay,
Sorry, Paige.
let's move right along from that one.
I like Jordan Howard.
He's nice.
He's a good fantasy option. That's
cool.
pretty much all the Bears have. All right, we're going to talk about the Ravens and the Bengals. This is traditionally also a very, very good matchup between these two teams. Now, Joe Flacco was hurt. The Ravens were they dealt with it a very interesting way. They were very quiet. We didn't really know when he was going to come back. Do you think he's actually healthy, Chris?
I don't know the answer to that question, and the reason why is because haven't seen him play in a preseason game, haven't seen him do a whole lot of things on the field, and I look at this Ravens team on offense. What do they have? I mean, can somebody help me out? Like, what do they have? Like, what is there to like about this team?
Problems,
yeah, I mean, but what is there to like about this team on paper?
There
I love
isn't.
the uniforms.
Their uniforms are nice. They
unis.
do have nice uniforms, but that's about it. Even if Joe Flacco is healthy, what is Jeremy Maclin?
Yeah, this isn't a good team. This isn't a good team
So
on
Joe
paper.
Flacco at 100% doesn't really mean anything to me. Yeah, that's nice. You need a quarterback to win in this league. But they have a lot of other problems, even if Joe Flacco's healthy. I think that's an elite defense. I think it's defense that doesn't get talked about enough.
How many elite defenses do you have in the league, Chris?
I think there's 6. I think if I made my list, there would be 6 elite defenses.
Houston and Baltimore.
Houston and Baltimore are both in there. But if Joe Flacco's 100%, there are still a whole lot of question marks on this team. So if Joe Flacco's healthy, great.
All right.
I move on to my next question on the list then.
Yeah, let's move on to their defense. Is their defense going to be enough? Because I'm like Chris, this offense isn't good enough to carry this team. Joe Flacco healthy or not, Joe Flacco's not elite. Let's just go right there. All right? Now, is their defense...
At Paige.
Yeah, you can send me all your tweets. All right? You can send me all those tweets. But do you think this defense is enough to carry the team in a way like a Texans team where you're expecting that this defense is going to carry for a subpar offense?
Maybe. I love their secondary. I mean, they have the best safety tandem in football right now. I mean, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I just because I think that offense has the ability to have some crippling turnovers. And you can survive with a mediocre offense if you don't turn the ball over. This Ravens offense is so weird because Joe Flacco can go off certain weeks. He can hit, again, the vertical passing game can be a huge asset for them. Then there's times where he feels like he can't hit a player on his own team. Yeah. So I don't know how to get a good read on the Ravens. I just know that they're not going to run the ball consistently. I don't know which passing game is going to come to town when they bring it each week. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think they're the third best team in that division.
Okay, we'll go right into the Bengals. Andy Dalton is one of those guys who's traditionally had trouble in the playoffs. Is this the year that they finally kind of break through in the AFC?
I mean, you look at the AFC from a wild card perspective because I think we can all agree that the Steelers are going to win this division. And there's a chance. There's an opportunity to win 9 or 10 games and sneak into the AFC as a wild card team. So the Bengals fit that mold. They have a defense that I think can compete with a lot of teams and keep teams off the board. They have a quarterback who's very good in the regular season. I mean, the postseason, yeah, they got some problems there, but he can score points in the regular season. He's got a number 1 wide receiver in A.J. Green, and they have the balance. Whoever it is that's going to be their running back, at some point I think it will be Joe Mixon. They have balance. That is going to keep them in games because you're going to play gritty games in the AFC North when you're going up against the Steelers, even the Browns. It is going to be a gritty game. You need to be able to grind it out. They have that ability. Do they break through in the AFC? I like New England more than them. I like Oakland more than them. I like Kansas City more than them. I just don't think they fit in that tier of contender in the AFC just yet.
Yeah, Jamie, I'll ask you the same question. Do they break through this year?
Well, to me, I look at breakthrough as can they win a playoff game? And no, I don't think they can. And yes, are they a wild card contender? Sure, but I'd feel much more confident in the Denvers of the world, one of the Kansas City Oaklands of the world, maybe even the LA Chargers. I think they're a 8-ish win team. I think they're fine, but I don't think they're anything special. I do want to see how Joe Mixon does as the season goes along. I do think they're going to be a team that's in the playoff conversation. But to me, to break through, you have to be a team I think is going to win at least one playoff game, if not multiple playoff games. I just can't see that happening.
All right, score prediction, guys. Chris up first.
24-14 Cincinnati.
Jamie?
24-20 Cincy.
All right, let's go to the next toilet bowl of the week, and that is the
Yikes.
Colts and the
Do
Rams.
we have to?
Yeah, we got to talk
All
about
right.
this game. I know we don't want to.
I know.
Andrew Luck is hurt. I don't think he's going to come back before maybe a week 3, a week 4. The Rams, what is Jared Goff? I don't really know what to expect from him there. Aaron Donald does come back, but he will not play in this game. Okay, Chris, what does this defense look like without Aaron Donald this week? He will come back, but he hasn't played at all. So what are you going to get from Aaron Donald going forward, and what is this team without him?
Okay, first, what you're going to get from Aaron Donald with when he comes back, I don't know. Because, again, the same questions I have about Le'Veon Bell I have about Aaron Donald. You need to come back and show me that you're in football shape, that you're ready to play games before I'm willing to buy stock in you. You are the Los Angeles Rams. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. You don't have a whole lot of talent as it is. You're trying to piece it together. You have Jared Goff. We're not big fans of him up here. Defensively, Tremaine Johnson's very good. You have Aaron Donald. You can't afford to not have your best player. You just can't when you are a team that has this little talent on your roster. So Aaron Donald missing this first game. The Rams are very lucky that Andrew Luck's not playing on the other side of them. Because if he was there, I would pick the Colts in this game. But no Andrew Luck, and it's a big red flag for me for the Colts. So I think I'm going to pick the Rams.
Okay, let's move on so that I don't
might
have
pick
to
the
hear
Rams.
about picking the Rams. Jamie, when you look at this team and Jared Goff, I know Chris just said you guys aren't big fans of him, but is he going to be enough with what has traditionally been almost an elite defense? I won't put them in that same category, but with Aaron Donald back, maybe in that conversation, is Jared Goff going to be enough?
I'm not sure Jared Goff could win with Bill Belichick, to be perfectly honest with you.
Wow.
I haven't
Hot
seen,
takes.
Wow.
if we talk about I haven't seen stuff from Carson Wentz, I've seen flashes from Carson Wentz. Somebody's got to show me that Jared Goff's alive when he's in the pocket. I haven't seen anything yet. He has some more weapons now when Sammy Watkins is healthy, but I don't see anything I really like about that Rams offense. Todd Gurley's got a ton of talent, but that offensive line is trash. And the only line that's worse is the one they're going to be playing.
I love this. Trash.
Trash.
That's
Yeah, that
definitely
was my
gonna-
favorite.
The Rams are very lucky that the Colts gave them a bye week this week, so they can at least get one win under their belt.
Okay, when we look at Andrew Luck, though, should he, I'm going to ask the hypothetical question. I know Colts fans, warning.
Are you putting your tinfoil hat on?
Warning, do not send your angry
It's right
tweets
down there.
to me, okay?
I can see it.
Do
It's
not
right down
send
there.
the
At
angry
the
tweet.
_sports
No,
page.
don't send them to me.
Page with an I.
This will bring back the trash. This whole team minus Andrew Luck is trash.
very
so
bad.
should they sit Andrew Luck all season because they're not winning anything?
So you're asking me to put the tinfoil hat back
Yes,
on. You
do
want me
it.
to put it back
Do
on?
it.
Should they sit him? Probably. They should probably sit him for the entire 2017 season because when I look at this team, how do they win any football games? They don't have. I'm sorry, but Frank Gore is old. I just don't expect him.
hate Frank
I don't hate Frank Gore, but
Frank Gore's not the problem in Indiana.
No, but
No.
Frank Gore is
He's
fine.
old.
He's
He's
not
old.
going to be an elite running back that's going to help them. And they don't have anything offensively if Andrew Luck is not there. There's a report out that he's not going to play until October. If you miss the first 4 games of the season, 5 games of the season, the Colts aren't winning a game. They're going 0-5. At that point, you just paid Andrew Luck a lot of money. He is your future. You need to build around him. I like some of the pieces they have defensively. It's not there yet. They have to do a whole
Do
lot
you, though?
more.
Do
Yeah.
you really like
Yes, I do.
T.Y. Hilton.
Name 2 players on defense you like.
Oh, defense.
2, I
Vontae
like
Davis and who?
I like Malik Hooker.
Okay.
I
I'll
like
give you
him.
that.
I
Okay.
need to see it from him before I'm willing to anoint him as a guy that they can fit in. But I like that pick because of the focus on defense. Offensively, T.Y. Hilton is fine. Dante Moncrief, I think, is a little overblown because of his role in that offense. But if you're the Colts and you start 0-5, you're not winning this division. You're not making the postseason. So why put Andrew Luck at more risk behind an offensive line that's probably the worst in all of football? It's bad.
No, it is the worst.
And
It
he's
is
going
the
to
worst.
get killed. And you cannot afford your franchise quarterback, who you are wasting his prime, and get him hurt again.
Andrew Luck is on my do not draft list for a reason. Because
It's
I'm
not because of his talent.
No, he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented guy. But do you think, I know we're talking hypotheticals here, but if they start off 0-5, how do you start him at any point?
I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think they should sit him for the season?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You think that's the right decision?
Yes.
The Colts will do the exact opposite. I'm confident of it. The Colts, what they are doing to Andrew Luck is a football tragedy. It's a football travesty, even.
Oh, why?
They are going to waste the prime years of a franchise quarterback, 95% of the league, would kill to have, and they are going to waste it by mismanaging their entire roster and getting him hurt behind the line of scrimmage constantly. No, he shouldn't play this year. He's going to play. He's probably going to get hurt again, and we're going to be in this cycle that goes all the way to the very, very tippy top of the organization. They need to make a decision. Are we going to try to compete? Are we going to build a winner around Andrew Luck? Or are we going to try to do what we did with Peyton Manning, which was, we're going to kind of maybe put a team around him, and then maybe we'll luck into some guys and maybe we'll win something.
That was a good pun. Luck into. That's good.
Jim Irsay, get the guy. Get the man in offensive line, for the love of God. Score prediction on this game, Chris.
I predicted, 17-10 for Jets-Bills?
Yeah.
17-10. Both of these games are, I don't know how to score points. Yes, the Rams, obviously.
Okay, Jamie?
12-6 Rams. No touchdowns. No
wow.
pennies.
Wow.
So that's
7 field goals.
That's the definition of the under.
7 field goals?
That's the definition of the under.
12-6. No.
All right, we'll move
What's
on.
18 divided by 3, Chris? No, live on the air. There you go.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chris is going to do some math lessons.
Yeah, that's later on in the show.
Flashcards.
Panthers and 49ers.
Oh,
okay,
gosh.
we're looking at two teams. One team that is going to have to bounce back, and that is the Carolina Panthers. The 49ers, who I don't really know what they're doing at quarterback. They pretty much got the Bears leftovers in Brian Hoyer and Matt Barkley, and you never really want the Bears anything, let alone the Bears leftovers in quarterback. So is Cam Newton going to be the guy? Is he going to be able to move into this role where he's not taking these hits that have gotten him hurt traditionally?
If it is going to be the case where they're going to protect Cam Newton a little bit more and stop him from getting hurt, it is going to have to be with Christian McCaffrey. He is going to have to be the guy that steps up and does something for them, because he's going to provide that balance. And I love Jonathan Stewart. I think he's a great secondary option. He is not a lead back in the NFL anymore. He was at a time for them, but not anymore. They need Christian McCaffrey to be able to provide them that running game balance, so Cam Newton doesn't have, and I know he loves to do the Superman, but so he doesn't have that Superman mentality of, I have to do everything for this team. I think they're lacking some depth at wide receiver. Kelvin Benjamin's nice. I don't know what else fits around him after that. Greg Olsen is fine. He's a good tight end in this league, but they need more, and I think it's going to start with Christian McCaffrey. And we need to see it from Cam Newton, really, too. Yeah. I mean, I need to see that he's healthy before I'm willing to buy more stock in him. I'm not as down on the Panthers this year as, let's say, somebody else standing here. But I think until Cam Newton shows it to me, I'm going to be a little skeptical.
Jamie, do you buy into the Christian McCaffrey hype?
A little bit. And I think he's going to be an integral part of what the Carolina Panthers have to do this season. They need to transition to be a much more West Coast-style offense, because Cam Newton is going to get killed if he doesn't. They need to be short passes. They need to move the ball a little bit more on the ground. They need to be a team that says, we don't need Cam Newton to run the ball for us. We don't need him to run the ball for us in the red zone. As good as he is at that, they need him to stay healthy. And right now, I don't think he's healthy. Mm-hmm. It's a bad sign to me when at 3 hours before kickoff this morning, when I checked Twitter, NFL.com tweets, Cam Newton's expected to play week 1. That's a bad, bad sign. I don't think he's healthy right now. And to keep him healthy, short passes, a consistent running game with both McCaffrey and Stewart, they need to change the way that they play, or else they're going to have a very short shelf life on Cam Newton being an elite starter.
In the NFL, you need an identity. So I ask you this, Chris. What is the 49ers' identity?
This was exactly where I was going to go with this, and I'm glad you phrased it that way. We make a lot about talent in sports, right? Oh, they have all these nice pieces that are really good. What we don't talk a lot about is your identity, what your team motto is, what your team theory is. And I look at two guys that I think are going to be the identity of this football team, Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. These are the two guys they drafted in the first round this year. They are going to be the lifeblood. They are going to be the identity of this team. They need a lot of help. They need a quarterback. I think they need a consistent running game because I don't trust Carlos Hyde. They need wide receivers. They need a lot. There's a laundry list. But if I'm looking at two guys that are going to lead this team this year and be the guys that we look at and say, wow, that was a good performance, it's going to be Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster.
Jamie, I ask you the same question. What is the identity of the San Francisco 49ers?
Couldn't agree more. It's defense. You're building around defense right now, and you hope the offense will come in time with Kyle Shanahan and company. To me, I look at this team, and again, I want to see, much like we talked about earlier, strides from their young players on defense. I want to see them get better each week. I want to see them flash. I want to see them make an impact. That's what you're rooting for this season. The Niners, again, are not contending, just like the Browns are. They're not contending. I'm not judging their season based on wins and losses this year. I want to see the wins and losses that their individual players have over the course of 17 weeks.
Now, they have a few things to like on defense. Reuben Foster in particular, a big fan of that guy. Yes. But when we look at this, let's look at our score predictions. Chris, give it to me
This
first.
is a close one. I like the Panthers 20-14.
Jamie?
23-17 San Francisco.
All right, let's go into a primetime matchup here. All right, we talk about toilet bowl matches. This is a primetime matchup. The Seahawks and Green Bay have traditionally given us some amazing games in the regular season and in the postseason. Elite offense, elite defense. Aaron Rodgers and the Seahawks defense, it doesn't get much better than this. This is a NFC championship potential here in this game. Now, when you look at the Seattle defense, are they the elite defense they were, not last year, but the year prior to that with the addition of Sheldon Richardson?
No, but they're pretty darn close. They're pretty darn good. I find it very fascinating that a defense this good can get better when they add a guy like Sheldon Richardson. They have Michael Bennett. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback. They have a secondary with Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman that I think could be able to shut teams down. I really like this defense. I know we're going to give our Super Bowl picks later on. I won't go into maybe why one of these teams playing here today is going to be my Super Bowl pick. I really like this defense a lot this year. I think it's going to be better than people give it credit for.
Jamie, what do you like most about the Seattle defense?
Well, apparently they're not the Ravens on defense because they're not elite. But,
no, they're elite. They're probably number one.
Clearly better at
agreed.
every spot of that defense than Baltimore is. But no, I like that options in the secondary. You have two strong safeties. You have strong corner. You can pass rush. You have to have all of those combinations because when you're missing one, a la New England in the pass rush, even if you have star players in your secondary, you put them in bad positions by giving quarterbacks too much time. They have stars at every level of their defense, and I think that's the big reason why they're going to have a ton of success this year. And I'm expecting Russell Wilson to be a little bit more healthy this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to establish a run game yet in Seattle, but I think the defense will be on the field a little bit less this year, which will be a much bigger benefit than anything else that they could have added on defense personnel-wise.
A lot of
much.
much.
Yeah, we'll get into the trash.
Yeah, trash.
That offensive line in Seattle is trash, and that's why I'm not buying into them as much as either one of you. Great defense, but let's move on to the offensive side of the ball, and that is the Green Bay Packers. They could set records. They have an unbelievable quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Do you think they are a Super Bowl team this year?
Offensively, yes. Defensively, absolutely not. I need to see from them what their secondary is. We just talked about the Seattle secondary, and I think legitimate questions about Seattle secondary start with the number 2 corner spot. But for the Packers, I don't know who's going to shut down another receiver in this league. They have corners that I would classify as fine, but nobody that's going to be able to take away a Julio Jones in the postseason and to take away an Antonio Brown in the Super Bowl. They don't have that. So offensively, they're going to set records. They're going to be elite. We keep using that term here. They're going to be that good. Defensively, I have a lot of question marks about this team.
They were a playoff team last year and a playoff team that beat a Cowboys team that pretty much everybody was putting in the Super Bowl. So I think they get better in the offseason another year. They're completely healthy on offense. Are they a Super Bowl team? Because like Chris said, their defense is a huge question mark.
They're a Super Bowl contender because they have Aaron Rodgers, and that is the all-great wild card that you have. But no, I don't think they're going to be a team I pick to go to the Super Bowl. I don't like anything about their defense. They're very injury-prone in the secondary, even though they have a lot of young, talented players. But to me, you're going to need to play solid defense when you get into December and January, and I just don't think they're going to be able to match up.
All right, let's give our score predictions on the primetime matchup. Chris.
Seattle, 31-24.
Jamie?
27-24 Seattle.
Wow, you guys are both. I'm going to go differently. I think the Packers win this one. All right, we're moving on to Sunday Night Football. That is Giants and Cowboys. This matchup always gives us great stuff. We always love this matchup. Whether the teams are good or not, this game always seems to be very good. Now, the biggest news of this is Ezekiel Elliott is now going to be playing for the entire season because the injunction was given to him. And now we're looking at Zeke and we're going, is he going to be fed like he was last year?
Is he going to eat?
Is he going to eat like he was last year? Chris, I'll go to you first.
I don't know if it's going to be to the levels that it was last season, but I do think Ezekiel Elliott has a good year. If you're looking at a spot on this team where they're going to regress, it has to be on the defensive side of things. You lose talent. A lot of good things happened for them last year. They had a lot of lucky breaks. I think they take a step backwards defensively this year. They're going to be on the field a little bit more because I think Ezekiel Elliott's and both Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are going to be figured out a little bit more. They'll be able to get that offense on the field. Dallas last year did a really nice job late in games controlling the clock. I don't think they have that much success this year, which means you're putting a defense that I took a step backwards back on the field. I think they have some trouble.
All right, Jamie, when you look at Ezekiel Elliott, is he the wild card this year now that they prepare like they're not going to have him and now they do have him back?
No, see, to me, everyone's looking to hey, Zeke's going to regress. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do better. I mean, it's again, you can see the graphic up right now. It's tough to do that.
He's eating up there. Look at him, he's eating.
And you know what? They don't need him to do better than that. But I think all of those numbers are within range. And I'm with Chris. While everyone's waiting for Dak Prescott to regress, their defense is going to regress. Yeah. And they were lucky last year. And it's better to be lucky than good. But I don't think Dallas's defense is either this year. And I think that's going to be the big reason why they're going to struggle to repeat as division champs.
All right, well, look to the other team in this matchup, and that's the Giants. Are the Giants do they have an elite defense, since you love throwing around that elite
They're in there. Let's put them on that list. I don't know how many I've named on the
We
show
need like
today.
an elite swear jar.
Yes.
That we
How many
Yes.
quarter pounder down
Quarter
there?
in
So
for
every
Chris.
time I say elite, we can put it up there. Yes, I think this defense has everything you need. They can stop the run. They can get after the quarterback. They have a secondary that can shut down any receiver in football. The question mark, can they figure out how to run the football? I know we like to say, who is this guy? What is Paul Perkins? Do we know what he is yet? I don't think we have that answer. If this team is going to win, I know people want to say, oh, Odell Beckham Jr. is an X factor, Eli Manning, Sterling Shepard, Brandon Marshall. My X factor for the Giants this season, Paul Perkins. If he can develop into a number one running back for them, he doesn't have to be Zeke. He doesn't have to be Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson. He needs to just provide them balance. If he does that, the sky is the limit for this football team.
Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, Brandon Marshall. Is this the best wide receiving core in the NFL?
I don't know if it's the best, but it's right up there. And I look at this team and I see that they have a Super Bowl caliber receiving core. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I don't know about the running game, but they have a quarterback that has a penchant for soul-crushing turnovers, and that is going to be the X factor to me. If Eli Manning can just limit, as much as Eli Manning can, we have to be realistic here, limit his turnovers, the Giants are a Super Bowl team. That will be what holds them back, I think even more so than the lack of running game, if it doesn't transpire with Paul Perkins, is those soul-crushing late-game turnovers that, again, we have seen so often.
All right, score predictions, guys. Chris, you up first.
31-28 Giants.
30-20 Giants.
Ooh, all right. I like it. The Giants are one of my favorites this year as well. When we look at the next game, that is the Saints and the Vikings. Are you guys buying into the fact we all the talk around this game about
Narratives.
a three running back team, okay? And everybody's talking about Adrian Peterson.
Narratives.
Is Adrian Peterson going to get his revenge against Minnesota because they didn't sign him in the offseason? Chris, I'll go to you first. Do you think AP has a monster game like people are buying into?
How can you get revenge when I don't even know if you're the starting running back on this football team?
He's not.
And that's the problem. There's an opportunity for him to be the third string by the season's end. I like Mark Ingram a lot more. I like Alvin Kamara a lot more. It is tough to have a revenge game if you're not getting enough touches to have a revenge game. That's why, from a fantasy perspective, I hate the Saints running backs because I just don't know who's going to start on a week-to-week basis. We talked about this with New England and their running game. The same questions I have about New Orleans' running game. Who's going to get the ball on a weekly basis? It's tough to have a revenge game if you're not going to see the touches.
Yeah, but when we look at this, AP has traditionally had all of his time in Minnesota was amazing.
good
You're
there.
looking at some graphic, you're
He is
looking at
good
some
there.
numbers
Look at him
right
in that
now
Saints jersey.
that AP averaged 100 yards at home. Do you think he's going to be able to do that today, or is he even going to be given the opportunity?
No. So if you think 5 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown is a good revenge game, you'll be very, very happy.
Oh,
Can
I need
I'm
this
writing
recorder.
that
We can
down.
play this back
Okay,
and write
that's
that
20
down.
and
520,
For
520,
And a
one
touchdown?
Okay.
He's
I'm
not
writing
going to be
that
on the
down.
field for 3rd and medium and 3rd and long. He's not going to catch a lot out of the backfield. I don't think he's going to be used in this offense as much as people think he's going to. I also don't think he's the Adrian Peterson he was 5 years ago. He's a nice complementary piece to the team. He's more in name value than he's going to be in actual value to the Saints this year.
In all reality, the Saints throw the ball, so I don't know why you would ever fall in love with a running back who plays for the New Orleans Saints, but we'll go to the other team, and that is
love this
Minnesota.
team. Love
I know
this
you
team.
love their
Elite
defense.
Elite
Oh, boy.
defense.
Another elite. Put
Put 'em in there.
Put
Do
a
you know
dollar
what the
in
word
the jar.
elite
I do.
Yeah.
Do we need to make a graphic that says elite with like a
Yeah,
definition?
so you know what it
you can
means.
see?
No, this is another
Okay.
elite defense.
All right,
Sorry,
all
what was
right,
your,
elite
what's your
defense.
question?
Can you let me get my question
Sure,
out?
go
And
ahead,
that
sorry.
is Sam Bradford going to be enough for this team to be a playoff team when they have an elite defense?
To
Chris?
make Jamie's skin crawl, absolutely 100% yes. I think this offense takes a massive step forward this year. I look at Sam Bradford, who last year came in really late into camp, really late into preseason, did not have time to learn the playbook. He now has a full offseason to learn it. They add Dalvin Cook, a huge running threat. Stephon Diggs is a big number 1 target. They have Adam Thielen. With that defense, they sneak in as a wildcard team.
Jamie, do you love Minnesota as much as Chris does?
No, I don't. I don't like that offense that much. I want to see Dalvin Cook. I'm interested to see what his potential is, especially since he's going to get the most touches, I believe, of any rookie running back this year. But no, I don't. Sam Bradford, if Alex Smith wasn't alive, and even after that game, Sam Bradford would be the okayest quarterback of all time. It's fine.
Ooh.
There's nothing sexy about Minnesota's offense. I do like their defense a lot. I have them
elite?
just under the elite category
Okay.
because I know what that word means. But other than that, they're fine. They're going to win 8 games. They might compete for a wild card spot. They're nothing special.
I'm going to start a graphic next week that says okayest quarterbacks because that's my new favorite saying. Thanks, Jamie, for that one. Score prediction, Chris.
35-31 Minnesota.
Jamie?
I'm going to go 35-31 New Orleans.
Okay.
Just to be
a
different.
high scoring affair. I don't know if Minnesota can put up that many points. All right. Chargers and Broncos, this is the last matchup of the week. A divisional game always brings a lot that we get to see. And I'm actually interested to watch Phillip Rivers this year. Is that
Wow.
weird?
Yeah,
I'm interested
maybe.
to watch Phillip Rivers because of the offensive pieces that he has. Chris, what do you like about the Chargers this year?
I like one guy in particular, Joey Bosa. I mean, this guy's just a freak. I predicted him to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to break the single season sack record there in LA. I look at this team, and the really question is, we talked about Eli Manning and the bone-crunching interceptions that he will have, or headache-inducing interceptions.
Soul-crushing.
Soul-crushing, sorry,
Soul-crushing.
yes, thank you. You're going to have that with Phillip Rivers. You just have to expect that once or twice a game, and if they can do enough offensively outside of that, then they'll have a chance. But the question here is, are they forgotten in the AFC West? And because of Phillip Rivers, I think the answer is yes.
Jamie, are they a forgotten team in the AFC West?
I think they are. I mean, but again, you have a division that has the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. Everybody else is going to be forgotten. I think Denver's a little bit forgotten as well. I mean, I don't think that team's
Just crazy
dead
to
either.
say.
I know it is for a team that's maybe not a big market, but a big just brand in general that the Broncos are. But to me, I mean, I just want to ride in Phillip Rivers' car from San Diego to LA. If you've seen that thing, just play Madden on that screen all the way there.
I don't think that's what he's
Sounds
doing.
like a pretty
in
good
that. I
job.
think he's
Sounds
watching
like a
some
pretty
film.
good life. But
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys this question quickly, and that is, Brock Osweiler comes back to Denver. John Elway is a magician, okay? That's what I'm calling him. He's a wizard, magician, whatever you want to call him. Is Brock Osweiler going to be the starting quarterback in Denver at some point this year?
Can we just talk for a second about how everyone is praising John Elway for not signing Brock Osweiler and then bringing him back? He was going to try to pay him like $15 million.
Doesn't matter.
Just so happened that Houston
Wizard.
wanted to pay more. So let's not give John Elway all this credit in the world for being this wizard that got Brock Osweiler really cheap. I do think Brock Osweiler becomes the quarterback by the end of the season. I think he's the best quarterback on this roster.
If Brock becomes the starting quarterback, how can you not call him a wizard, Jamie?
Okay, well, he won't. All right, so here's the deal. Chris is 100% right at the first part. John Elway doesn't get bonus points for this.
Yes, he
you
does.
tried to make the same mistake that
Exactly.
Houston did. You tried.
You
And
just got outbid.
Houston just made a bigger mistake than you did. And two, no, there's no way he's the starter because Brock Osweiler, let me put this again, is, ready for this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Trash.
Garbage.
His mechanics are all messed up. He takes 8 years to get the ball out of his hand. No, he's not the starter there. I think, why doesn't anybody like Trevor Siemian? No, he's not an
good.
elite starter. No, he's not one of the 20 best starters. But he's fine. But you know what I know he is? He's better than Paxton Lynch, and he's better than Brock Osweiler. And right now, that's the best Denver's got.
Okay, can we just go back to the trash?
Yeah, that was really good.
I need all those drops every week. All right, score prediction here, Chris.
28-17 Los Angeles.
Jamie.
28-20 Denver.
Weird to call them Los Angeles. It doesn't
I
feel
almost said
right.
San Diego,
All right, we
yes.
got a couple of minutes left. We're going to end with a few questions that we didn't get to on Thursday's show. And that is, we are going to start with your predictions for MVP this year. Chris, I will let you go first. Who is your MVP?
I'll keep this short and sweet. Aaron Rodgers. No, it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's going to set records offensively. That team's going to score 40 points a game.
All right.
Aaron Rodgers.
Jamie?
Tom Brady, I'm not worried. I'm not changing any of my picks. I'm not worried at all. The Patriots
Wow.
are fine. Tom Brady is fine. It's not the end of the world. Tom Brady. We're going to forget all about this next week when he puts up like 70 on the Saints.
Against the Saints?
Oh,
Absolutely.
no. That makes my skin crawl because thinking about how annoying the Boston fans are going to be. Okay, rookie. Let's start with the offense. Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, Chris.
Corey Davis. I think he's going to have a really explosive year one in Tennessee. I think by the time the season is over, he'll be their number one threat. It may take him a little while because they do have Eric Decker as a veteran. They have a good running game. But I think by season's end, you're going to look at this guy and say, this is a number one receiver in the NFL.
All the pieces to be that guy.
Everything, all the intangibles.
Jamie, you?
He's going to need a strong second half push, but Joe Mixon. He's the most talented rookie running back in the class. He won't get the most touches, but he's my pick.
All right. When we talk about the defensive side of the ball, Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, Chris, yours is?
He's going to need to channel his inner Joey Bosa. It's Myles Garrett because Joey Bosa missed the first couple weeks of the season with an injury and then set the world on fire. Myles Garrett needs to do the same. He has all the talent in the world to do that. And when I look at some of the other people that could step in for him, I don't love any of them. I made this Myles Garrett pick before he got hurt. I'm going to stick with it.
All right. Jamie, your Defensive Player of the Year.
Sticking with Garrett as well. He's one of the most dominant pass rushers to come out of college in years. He is going to be the most talented player on the field every time he's out there on defense.
Yeah, hopefully for him he gets back on the field because of a lot of excitement for the Browns specifically. But what
some
team that doesn't
excitement.
have a lot of excitement? All right. Coach of the Year this year, yours is Chris.
Dirk Cutter. I think down there in Tampa, I know this hurts me because I thought I was the only guy that was going to be high on Tampa, and now everyone's on the bandwagon, and now
Yeah,
I kind of want to jump off
Yeah,
it now
you
because
didn't
everyone's
start
kind
that,
of on
Chris.
it. But I think Dirk Cutter, because I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win that division. I think they can be one game out of the NFC Championship game. I think they win a playoff game, and I think he gets them to the postseason, and that's good enough to win the Coach of the Year.
Jamie, Coach of the Year.
See, now that Zeke's back, everyone's expecting a lot from Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ben McAdoo and the NFC East champion New York Giants, he will win Coach of the Year this year.
Dallas ain't making the postseason, so.
All right, Super Bowl picks. Last thing, we got 2 minutes here.
Okay.
You make your Super Bowl pick, Chris.
I have the New England Patriots coming out of the AFC over the Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship game, and you are going to see this afternoon a NFC Championship preview between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. Seattle wins today. They win the NFC Championship game. Super Bowl 49 rematch, Seattle over New England.
Wow, I like that one. That'll be a lot of excitement in the NFL. Jamie, your Super Bowl picks.
Well, we're going to get a rematch from the first game of the season in the AFC Championship game. I have the Patriots beating the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, getting true, actual, not Adrian Peterson, revenge. In the NFC, I have Seattle as well. Seattle over the New York Giants. I'll go right opposite of you. Seattle over New England this year. Let's have a rematch from a couple Super Bowls ago.
All right, I like Packers, and I like the Steelers, and I have the Packers winning that. I'm going different than them because you know who's going to be right, and that's going to be me. All right, everybody, any parting thoughts, Jamie and Chris? Like, some excitement for today?
How many elite defenses are there in football?
Yeah, I think that's my parting
there's
thought.
5 or 6, I think.
All right, well, I'm going to do a counter after the show's
Yeah, we
over to
can
make
make a
sure
list
that
for
Chris,
next week.
because I think he had about 12.
No, we
elite
can make a list
defenses.
for next week.
All right, well, for Chris Schubert and Jamie Eisner, I'm Paige DeMacos for FanRag Sports. This has been Pigskin with Pancakes.